East Valley artist, so most of you know me, but I want to know how many of you took pottery class in high school? Please raise your hand. Oh, excellent. Okay, well, believe it or not, that's where I originally started. It didn't hurt that my mom was a potter as well. And so that helped. And she potted through most of my life, still pots. Mom came last month and got to pot side by side. I have been potting since high school, on and off, little bit, you know, you do it a little bit in high school, you stop. I did it with Mom. That's where I was. I borrowed a wheel from a friend, Jennifer Wool, who's a member. She had an old wheel, and so I rearranged my studio. So I've got 2 wheels side by side, and Mom came for 2 weeks and we did the whole process. We threw, we let it dry, we bisqued it, we glazed it, we ended up with finished products, and the 2 of us were out here every day for 2 weeks. It was wonderful. But when I had my kids, I had taken a break from potting, and so I'm back potting again. I started again in 2017, and a lot had changed. The whole firing with clay, there used to be a low fire and a high fire. Now there's a mid fire, and it's perfect for me because I fire here at home in my studio in partially open air in the carport. So to have a studio by yourself, you have to test all your glazes before you put them on your masterpiece, because if the glaze isn't just right, or if it doesn't work with another glaze, your entire piece is ruined. So that's been challenging, but enjoyable. But this new form of pottery, it's not the high fires that we all know, the gas firing, but it's not the low china painting firing. It's perfect in between. You still have the rugged durability of the stoneware. So this is still stoneware, all microwave, dishwasher. Actually, if you put it in a cold oven, you can even bake, you know, so it's very durable. One of the things that has happened with clay is that getting inspiration, like Lisa was talking about earlier, when you pot by yourself is challenging. Thank heavens for the internet, because I can go, you know, I have a separate Instagram account. And so I look there, I try to get inspired there, but ultimately I have to push myself. I have to challenge myself. And having EVA has been a wonderful challenge. I also have my work at a gallery in Half Moon Bay, the Coastal Arts League Gallery. So that's been good. That keeps me potting, keeps me stocking my shelves, and keeps me trying to be creative and try new things. Like Shelley was saying, you know, I don't necessarily want to make the same glazed piece all the time. Sometimes that's fine, but it's the creativity that really moves me, because I truly believe that clay can be a learned art. If you'll know instantly if clay is your medium, you know, sitting down, getting all dirty. Be it hand building or throwing, you can make anything out of clay, anything. Well, probably almost anything, but clay is not a forgiving medium. There's a lot of steps, and it takes a lot of time. You start with a bag of clay. Oh, I didn't get one. It comes in 50-pound boxes. So there's usually two 25-pound bags in there. And then you have to work your clay and prep your clay for throwing. You can't just open the bag and throw. Actually, a lot of people wedge on the wheel, because wedging is something that gets the molecules going and gets the clay happy, and it moves more happily together, as opposed to a whole old hard ball of clay that's, you know, hard on the outside and soft on the inside. That's not going to throw well. So you've got to prep your clay. When you sit down to throw, you have to think about the vessel that you're making. You need to have intention. You need to have some forethought. Am I going to throw? Okay, so if I have a giant piece of clay and I'm going to throw a bowl, do I want it to have a nice wide base? Do I want it to be more V-shaped? How do I want to glaze it? You need to think of all these things at the beginning. Do I want to add a lot of texture so that the glaze does different things? So already, minute one, you have to think about this. Once you've prepped your clay, had your forethought, you throw your piece, which for me is the funnest part. It's just heavenly. And I'm lucky I can just make fun stuff that I like to make. So that's that's fun. You throw your piece, you have to let it, I threw some pieces today. You have to let your pieces become leather hard. And so you cut them off your bat, and they need to be leather hard so that you can trim them. So now what I would do is I would trim the foot on this. I put it on the wheel and I'd trim it. And you have to also think intentionally about how you want your foot to be. This is something, it's a mini pour bowl that I'm going to be doing a lot of stirring and whisking, you know, to me, this, I'm thinking salad dressings or, you know, little things like that. So this is going to need a sturdy base. So I would trim it to have a nice solid foot. And then I do a design, I do a spiral now on the bottom of my pieces, and then you sign it, and then it has to dry completely. And that can take, oh, I forgot to show you. I'll show you my pieces at the end. That can take, depends on the size of the piece. I have some giant pieces up there that I've been attaching and having some fun with that. And so those pieces, the shortest one has been 2 weeks drying and it's ready to be bisque. The other two were made a week apart, and they're probably going to have to dry for 2 weeks because they're so thick. And so, and you want to dry them slowly because they were joined. So it was not a natural connection. And if they dry too quickly, they'll break. But up until the first firing, all of this clay can be reclaimed. So I can break it and add it to a pot with water and let it sit and rework it and wedge it and reuse the clay. So all is not lost, really, because it's just mud. It's just a bunch of mud. But so, okay, you've thrown your piece, you've let it get leather hard, and then you've trimmed the foot on it. So now it's dried and it's bone dry. It's at its most fragile state. You have to be very careful. And there's my spiral. Let's see if you can see the spiral. The light's bad. Let me try here. There's my spiral and my name. And you can see that there's grit because it was just clay when I did it. So what you do is you take just a sponge scour pad. You can do these, and you have to clean your piece. This is the last time you can really have a serious effect on it before it gets glazed. So you have to clean up all your edges, because once it's fired, you have to physically sand it off with a diamond bit piece and water, and it's a lot more elbow grease. So if you can take some time and have a little bit of love, I do a spiral on the inside, which is just the hand thrown marks. I don't know if you can see that. And this is a fun pour bowl. I may throw one of these today so that I can show you it's easy, but we are going to play with some textures. Okay, so we clean it up. It's already dry. And so now it's ready for bisquing. Bisquing is cone 04 is generally what you bisque all high fire and mid fire pieces. That's 1,945 degrees, and it can take about 6 to 9 hours depending. This is the time, like if I put one of those big pieces in, you put it to your face, and if it feels damp, fortunately my studio's outside, so they always feel cool and a tad damp. So I have heaters going before I'm getting ready to fire, because I want to make sure you get all the moisture out, because otherwise they'll explode in the kiln. So, okay, so now I'm going to put it in my electric kiln, and that's right back there. I don't know if you can see it, but I have a kiln. The one electric kiln I do both my firings in. So I do its first firing, and then I get a bisqued piece. And this, can you hear that? It's beautiful. It's a nice hard piece. It's perfect. It's come out. It's almost ready for glazing. What you have to do is, in the bisque firing, it gets there's a film that from the firing, it's like a dust. So you have to physically wipe each piece, every surface, before glaze will go on there, because the dust will just run, the glaze will run off. And then before we glaze, we have to wax the rim, because this is going to be sitting on the shelf and be fired, and I can't have any glaze on the bottom, otherwise it will be forever on the shelf. So you, like if you have a teapot or something with a lid, you have to wax your rim and wax the lid and make sure that all contact points don't have any glaze. Glazing has a lot of options. Again, that changed with the times when I came back to clay. Originally, again, you had the high fire, which was more of the browns and occasional greens, some blues, but primarily the brown, the dark family. You didn't get any fun colors like turquoise, but or the low fires, that's where you got the fun colors. So again, this mid fire is perfect for me, and there's all different ways you can do it. We have these under glazes that Patrick knows. These can be painted on your bone dry pieces, the fragile ones, before the first firing. They'll need 2 to 3 coats, or they can also be painted on your bisque pieces. So we have wet glazes and dry glazes. I tend to buy the dry glazes in bulk, and those I mix up in big buckets with water, and you dip them in to glaze them. So you have to come up with creative ways of dipping to get some different effects. You can, some of the new fun color glazes come in bottles, and you have to paint them on. Paint 2 to 3 coats, depending upon the glaze and the texture. If there's a lot of texture, the glaze can go in and out of the flow in and out in the firing, and so you really only need 2 coats. But still, it's very time consuming. If somebody wants this bowl in purple, doesn't much feel like art when I'm painting and painting. I am still the old school dunking glazing, and that's not going to change, because that's what I like. All right, so once it's glazed, it should dry before it's fired, because you again have moisture in there. Even though your pot is already bisqued and it's fairly hardy, you still don't want to fool around with moisture in them. The second firing takes about the same time, and I like to do them. I like to make sure my pieces, the glaze has had a good chance to dry, and I fire them to cone 5 or cone 6. That's 2,167 degrees or 2,232 degrees. Now, again, it goes still in my same electric kiln, so I can do the one. And one of the things that the mid fire gives me, besides the fun color, is I think the high fire glaze is about 2,500. So it seems like a much, not, 300 degrees doesn't seem like that much of a jump, but it holds for a longer period of time. So it adds wear and tear on your kiln. So the mid fire is nicer on my kiln. So the life of my kiln will be longer. One of the things that inspires me, and it's probably very funny speaking to artists, but I love cooking. I love to cook. So to be able to cook and serve, or this is probably a coffee table bowl. This was the bowl that I did at the last demo I did for EVA when we were there. It's 14 inches across, so it's a beauty. I'm very happy with it. I did take a video of dip glazing it while Mom was here, and so I was going to post that on my Instagram, Handmade by Sloane, so that you can see the dip glazing, because it's what we all do. And I try to hide. Usually when you're dipping, you have a seam, because you can only dip, there's going to be a seam somewhere. There's going to be finger marks if you manage to get the whole thing in, but you're going to have to get the other half in. And so I've started to disguise my seam with some additional glazes, and it's become my signature. Oh, Leonard. Clays. I didn't talk about clays because clays are fun. They're very different. You have porcelain, which can be tricky to throw. It can be very delicate, and it can be translucent. You have on the other spectrum, you have clays with a lot of sand or grog in them, so that they can withstand. Those are great for beginners or really big pieces, because the clay itself can support larger amounts on top, because it's not as fragile and delicate. I tend to throw with middle of the road, just clay, no grog, no sand. I do throw porcelain as well, but I really like, it's called B-Mix. I love my B-Mix. It's just, it makes me happy. let's see, clays. Oh, I wanted to show you some of the fun colors that clays come in. Most of you have seen this. This is this new black clay that I just love. And it happens to be a collaboration that I did with Shelly. Oh, I forgot to turn the light on. And it's just one of my favorite pieces. Maybe if it gets darker, but the colors shine through. So not only is food and cooking one of my inspirations, but decorating is my inspiration. I changed my whole family room, well, pillows and accents to join these beautiful colors. But this is going to have to go to the gallery now because I've enjoyed it and it needs a new home. So
did you drill it?
Fun. So this black clay is wonderful. Here it is again. I did the black clay can be very temperamental, but I did an interesting texture on, and the glaze went into the edging there. So that's fun. I have this piece. This is called Black Mountain. It's a fun clay. It's very groggy and porous and dense. Let's see, I was playing with the contrast of two colors. So I'm hoping to do more wall art. So watch out, 2D artists. I'm coming to get some wall space. Just with some fun things, you know, the contrast. All right. Let's see. I think that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
Did you drill the other pot with the
I haven't drilled it yet. I'm gonna drill it this week. Okay, let's switch over to this one. And I had a request to make a sea urchin, but she's not here. I'm sad. Are there any other requests?
I want to see a sea urchin.
Okay.
Do you want the spotlight on just the pot or on both?
The wheel, please.
Just the wheel.
Yeah, the wheel. I think that would be best. Okay, let's make a sea urchin. So I prep these.
We're on the wheel.
If anybody likes clay, there's a fun show that Lori, our member Lori, told me about. It's called the Great Pottery Throwdown. And it's just, well, of course, I'm obsessed with it, but it's a hoot. Oh, wait, let's get our apron.
By the way, sea urchins like to wear hats. Look it up on Google.
Sea urchins like to wear hats. Okay. Got my Pottery Queen apron on, and then you get a towel for your knee. Water is your friend. This is a awesome bat system. I don't know. It allows me to throw multiple pieces without having to physically change my bat. I threw some today. I can't find my screwdriver. Oh well. These pop out. Oh, I need my screwdriver. Okay. Sea urchin. Growing smaller things is not necessarily easier. Okay, you lock, no matter what size it is, you lock your elbow into your hip here, and you lean forward and you push with the corresponding hand. And then you have to pull off slowly, very gently. If you pull off, if you remove your hands too fast, where the pressure was for the hands, it will still be there. So you have to release the pressure very slowly. All right, it's centered. This is, there we go. So now we go in. Full speed. And we open a little bit because we don't want to do too much. Now we slow the wheel down. One of the most important things in throwing is that you control the rim and even pressure. So just with my fingers, I'm gently pushing them together and pulling up very slowly, making sure that there's at least a full rotation before I keep going up. I'll show you, I was going to do a tall piece and put some texture in it. So that could be fun because I'll show you what happens when you don't do it slowly, when you go quickly, because it leaves the rings. This was about 3/4 of a pound. I forgot to weigh it, but I weighed them earlier. So now I'm pushing. So what I've done is I've brought it up a little bit. I want to keep the opening not too wide because we're going to close it, not all the way, but we want it to be small. And now I'm shaping it and I'm going to push out from the side. And pull up a little bit. One thing, before I get it too small, I have to make sure that I clean out the inside, because you don't want a large pool of water in there because it'll seep through and your pot will crack. There's if it gets too thin and it dries too fast, your pot will crack. I was doing the cleaning on a bisque piece that had some cutouts to do the beads again with, like the one I showed you, the joint piece with Shelly. And I tapped it. I just a little bit too hard and got a giant crack in it after the firing. So you have to be very careful. Okay, let's do it again. Now I'm going to push the opening. I'm going to close it gently. And see how I'm supporting it on the other side as I'm closing it? Judy, I'm not sure where your hat goes on these, but I will definitely Google that. I'm going to just double check that I'm happy with my thickness. I'm going to clean up some of this on here. And now I have to look from the side.
She's already spinning. Oh my gosh, I missed her.
Already spinning. I want it a little bit fatter there because this piece, the way I make them, I want them to be able to be either way. So I will trim the bottom, and depending upon our time, I'll trim one for you. And then I'll distort it. But so I want it to be able to be cute on both sides. These don't have, and these unfortunately I haven't figured out. I got to get a stamp for my name because these don't have my name on them because there's nowhere to put it. But okay, I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup on it so it will lessen my trimming time, which ultimately you want. I have when I make coffee mugs these days, I'm trying to streamline my production because being in a gallery, you have to think about the time that you're spending making these things. Because before I could just take hours making everything because it was just so much fun. But now I'm trying to be more streamlined about it. So, okay, so that one, I'm happy with the shape. I'm going to wire it off. And voila, now you guys are going to get to see me trim one because I threw one of these earlier. And so let's trim it and then I'll distort the shape so that you can watch that too. This is cool. The other most fabulous invention. It's called a Giffen Grip. Lots of fun toys. You have to, no, it's not. This saves me lots of time because each piece that you trim, you have to center, because if you trim a foot that's not centered, your piece is, it won't work. So what we do is, this is the sea urchin I threw earlier. Okay. So now we're going to trim. I'm going to double check the thickness of my bottom. And okay, let's see that. Okay, that feels pretty good. Let's give it a trim. This is a fun thing. It helps. It doesn't, okay, let's try that again. Oh, it's slipping. Let's try something. I'm going to wet it so that maybe it will stick. Let's try that. Okay. Okay. And you saw me wire it off. It looks like this one had some issues being wired off. So, I mean, every step in clay is important because it simplifies the process all the way through. Okay, now let's give it a go. Okay, I'm going to start. This is a textured piece. Now what I do is to get some fun lines on it. Because it's leather hard. It's not the exact shape I want, but I want to get on to throwing some fun big things for you. Okay, so there's one. Let's do. So we're making it look more like a fun sea urchin. Okay, and so you can just, so it should sit like this. I'll put dots on it in different fun patterns, or it can sit like this. And I put dots all the way around here. So now I will let, I'm gonna wrap it back up because if I wanna add my textured dots, it has to be still leather hard to be able to, they'll just dry too fast and fall off if I wait till it's bone dry. Okay, now let's make something tall and put some texture in it. How's that?
Cool.
Okay, let's see. Okay, this is, let's weigh it. Well, we'll do that. I think this will be a mug. It's about 1 3/4 of a pound. So let's see how tall we can get out of this. Awesome. If you're beginning, it's helpful to get it as centered as you can in the before you start, because when you get a large piece spinning, it's the mass itself. I don't know what the math equation is, but it increases it a lot and it makes it really hard. Now I'm leaning forward and I'm pushing, but I'm gonna do a little bit of a wedge on the wheel. I'll show you. You bring your pieces up and then you back down. Now we're making a mug, so I need to remember I don't want a mug that's this wide because that's too wide. My husband probably does. He likes a large coffee mug. Me, not so, I mean, not so much. In the winter, I have to bring my clay inside because my studio gets so cold, and I bring warm water from inside just to keep me from freezing. Okay, we're going in. Let's see how our thickness is. In order to see the thickness, I've made the hole and I want to see exactly how thick it is. So I stick the needle tool in and then I slide my finger until I'm touching clay. Perfect. This is, can you see it? Yeah. So you want it to be about 1/4 of an inch. If I was making a really big piece, it would need to be more. But that's about where you want. Plus that gives you room. If you're trimming, you can trim some of it off. When you throw larger pieces or wider pieces, the clay has a memory. And as you're pulling it and pulling it, the center can have a tendency to continue to pull as it dries. So you have to physically push the clays just back in to smooth it so that you're reminding it that it doesn't have to only go that way. Okay, so now I'm happy with my base. I'm opened and now I slow the wheel down and we're gonna go up. This is a fun throwing sponge because if your finger hits a dry patch, it can pull the clay and then you've distorted it and you've spent so much time trying to keep it centered and now it's not anymore. But I believe one of the things you have to learn is when you have an air bubble, you have to figure out how to do it because clay tries to get you every turn. Okay, we've got to control the edge here. Always 2 hands. Always 2 hands. Okay, what is that? That's just a little piece of something. Another pull. Wet the inside. Collar it in because I got a little too wide, but we're all good. Have to finish that pull. Okay, let's color it in again. This doesn't look like a coffee mug to me. Let's see. Let's go in carefully. Clean the bottom. I'm going to put my signature swirl if it's possible.
That's a very skinny mug.
Have that. You have a question?
I said it's a very skinny mug.
Yep. Hold on. I got you. The rim is, there we go. Okay, we're gonna add some, go out now. Actually, it was more clay than I normally use for a mug. So I think we're going to have ourselves a vase. But what I really wanted to do is show you a fun texture on the wheel. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to clean up the base and we'll see if we have kind of a odd shape. I don't know about you guys, but flowers, I have flowers up there. Our yard is full of flowers right now. So I am enjoying all the vases that I've made. I like that shape. Okay, let's do a fun texture. So I'm going to pull up with the wheel slowly, but I'm going to move my fingers on purpose more quickly so that I get a fun texture. Here we go. Hold on. Well,
Hula.
that's okay.
It's cool.
I have done it on a bigger vessel. Alex has one, a beautiful, much taller, and it's a better effect.
It looks cool.
Wire this off and now let's throw a big boy. This is also your friend. There we go. Okay. Oh, that's not bad. That'll be okay. Now, with a good glaze, I can save it. Okay, let's go big. Now, I tend to make the low spaghetti bowls, so I've been forcing myself to make more of a higher salad bowl type. Oh wait, Kelly, you want a giant 4 bowl?
Yeah,
Okay, let's try that. Let's see.
like a smallish mixing bowl. But with the,
Like this, but bigger?
yeah,
Okay, because, oh, you have a medium-sized one, I think. Okay,
I have a little tiny one that fits like 3 eggs, and then I have a bigger one that's like I don't know, salad dressing salsa size.
okay, let's see.
I need one size bigger.
Okay, let's try. And then we'll throw a bowl. So this one will be big and higher sides, because if it's a mixing bowl, I like my mixing bowls with a pour spout to have a nice solid base. All righty. Oh, shoot, I forgot to weigh it. I think it's about 4.5 or 5. Yep, tell it who's boss. Okay. Almost. Okay. Okay, that's gonna be a nice one. Going in, some people do 2 thumbs, some people pull away from them, depends. Some people, my mom was telling me she has a teacher who can't look when he does it. He leaves his eyes closed, because you really just need to feel and be the center of the clay. You open it a teeny bit so that we can look and see how deep it is, and I need to go deeper. Yes. Close that hole up. Okay, now I'm gonna pull.
Mom, you have a question from Mary.
Oh.
Said, how much does a minimal startup cost? Ballpark.
Okay, I would say first thing you do is go and take well, I think they're having classes now, but it's really a fun thing, because you get inspiration, you get instruction, you get a bag of clay, you have the firing things, because you need to make sure that the clay is what you want to do, because it is like big kilns are like, I don't know. I've had this kiln since before, when I potted before kids. So I'm thinking it was like $8,000. Wheels, I think, are $2,000. Plus there's different kinds of wheels, but you can find some used things. But if you're close, I have a wheel right here. It's open air. I'm vaccinated. Come on down, because as I told my niece, summer camp is open. Patrick has come down. He'll have to come and throw anybody. So it's a fun start. I also would say your clay store is a good source because our clay store will fire pieces for you. So if you buy the clay from them and maybe start with some hand building, because you can make anything with hand building. You find a nice form shape that you like, you roll a slab out with a rolling pin, and you put some sticks in between that are even thicknesses. So you gradually you go down to the thickness you want, cut the slab, throw it over, let it dry, and voila, you have whatever shape you wanted. So that's a really good place to start too, because hand building, you can
What Patrick does is hand building.
one of the my favorite instructors that a gal I used to pot with 100 years ago, she's only a hand builder. She has a wheel, but she doesn't throw. Her mugs are $55 starting for one hand built mug of hers. So it doesn't mean that, you know, just because it's hand built, it doesn't get the recognition.
Patrick's done hand building, Sloane.
Yeah, Patrick needs to come and finish his glazing.
That otter is adorable.
Can you see?
Oh my gosh. The otter is incredible. When you pull up, even if we're making a big bowl, you want to keep the strength and integrity here and then open at the end. I mean, naturally it will start to go out and that's fine, but your bowl will have better support and structure if you go up first.
Rebecca has a question. She said, what about in a humid environment? She says she lives in a very humid environment. Would that
Okay,
affect your
great
clay?
question. So does my mom, and it was funny because we were potting together, and so I said, okay, Mom, we have to wipe the pots off with a damp sponge. And she said, it'll never dry. So she doesn't use the damp sponge. She just uses a cloth, a clean cloth, and wipes it. So yes, drying time is in the winter. My pieces don't dry. So I have heaters that I turn on if I know that I'm going to want to trim. You just have to, dry them out manually. I have been known to bring pieces in and put them in the oven because I wanted to rush the drying along. So yes, that is definitely a factor. Okay, this is going to be fun. Here we go. Wet it and then clean out the inside. Okay. Here is small air bubbles. Okay, I'm going to start going out. Now I have a lot of thickness at the top, but the top is going to come out even more. So it's important I have that thickness there. Because if it was too thin, it wouldn't be able to go out wide. So we've got some good height for our mixing bowl. Now let's go wide. Okay, let's see. What are we at now? We're at almost 8. Now clay shrinks. You make this beautiful bowl. I think the blue bowl in the beginning started out 16 inches across and it's now 14. So there is it can be, depending upon the clay, it can be 14 to 6% shrinkage. It also depends on how high you fire it. The hotter you fire it, the more shrinkage occurs. But this is approximately 12% shrinkage. feel free if you guys have any other questions. I think I can multitask. Okay, let's do it again. Now I'm going to let go of the sponge, and I really want to feel the clay. See how far I can push it.
Carol here. I have a question.
Hi, Carol.
You do some hand building too, or do you stick to the wheel now?
You know, I have been wanting to hand build. Oh, if you want to hand build, a good tool to start that with, I would say, is a slab roller. Those are, I think those are about $400, and it evenly compresses your clay and rolls it out for you, so you don't have to manually do that. And I like it. I find I love this. And so, you know, maybe when it's too hard for me to throw big pieces and my back, I'll move into that. I don't ever not necessarily want to do it, not want to do it. It's just, I love the wheel. This is my favorite part. Okay. I'm happy with this. I love the natural lines. Very gently, because I'm not supporting it with my other hand. Drag, it's dry right there. Okay. All right, let's put the swirl in the bottom. One time I had a big, beautiful bowl that got was drying on the shelf at the studio years and years ago, and it was wider than the bath that it was on. So when they pushed it into the shelf, the back side flattened. And when you come the next week for your class, you unveil it and go, my bowl. Well, I ended up having to work it into the design, like I said, intentional. And it's one of my favorite bowls because it's not just round and simple. Okay, let's put a pour spout on this. And this is the time to do it. You sure, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you want it to have good pour. So we're going to go a little deep and then a little flip.
Nice.
There we go. Okay, how's my base? I'm actually not going to clean up the base because, again, it's something I want to be sturdy so that you don't have to worry about everything tipping over. So I will trim it, but these things tend to be a little wider base so that it's sturdier. Okay, let's cut it off. And do we have time for one more? Yes.
I think so.
Okay. Any more questions? Let's see. You have to be careful taking it off. Since it's wet, these tend to be a little more forgiving because it's not a perfect rim. I actually was going to play with some distorting the next one so that you could see another fun way to do that. But you have to be careful with everything you do with this now. If you bang it too heavily on there, if there's a weak part, it could collapse. Okay.
Riley and I both have a question. Riley's
Oh.
question. What is a goal piece that you haven't made yet, but are planning or wanting to?
Good question. Well, again, coming back to clay after doing it, I had made a lot of things, but potting here by myself, one of my goals was, I'll get it, to join some pieces. So while Mom was here, this one has not been bisped. So it's, while Mom was here, I joined this piece and then I went and made a set. So there's 3 of them, different shapes together. So that was a really fun exercise. And thanks to Mom, she helped give me the courage to do it. And now I'm crazy about it. That's all I want to do. And handles are one of my least favorite things, like for coffee mugs and what have you. But I think I'm going to try and make a teapot just for the exercise of a lidded vessel with a pour spout and a handle. So that could be next. Okay, this is a big one. Let's see what this is. I got these already earlier today. I'm actually going to weigh this one so we can see. Ooh, 6, almost 7 pounds. Okay. Took me a while once I had started back again to get up to throwing 7 pounds. So one of the things that can happen is when you first put your piece on here, if you're not careful, you can get air bubbles. And so your piece can be off from the very beginning. Okay. Woo, this one's gonna be fun. Wow, sucks up the battery. Okay. Hold on. My stool, if my stool tips when I'm leaning, not good. So I have to make sure that the back leg is behind me so that it won't tip, because I'm going to be putting a lot of weight on this. Lock the elbow and tell it who's boss. What was the other question?
My question was either what's your favorite piece you've ever made, or your favorite thing to throw specifically, not just like bowls, but like, do you have a favorite bowl?
I like a low, wide pasta bowl, or like a coffee table. My dream, actually, I had one that I was trying to do. I had one that was 16 inches wide. Oh no, I think it was 18 in the black clay, and it cracked in the first firing, so I lost it completely. So that is a dream of mine, to be able to throw that, but it's very hard to throw a lot of clay. It can be hard for me. It's just infuriating to watch those men do it. I've learned that what you can do is what I had done with this other large piece is, once I say I get this centered, I could add another ball of clay on top of it and center that, so that I don't have to center the full, 18 pounds or so. I can just center this one, and then, because this is the hardest part to get centered generally.
Glenna has a question.
Oh.
When you are pulling it up and then pushing it down, is that to get air bubbles out?
No. What it does is I'm warming up the molecules. I'm instead of wedging it on the table to get it, like with dough, you need it so that everything gets evenly distributed. It's just getting it ready. It also is an aid in centering, because what I'm doing is I'm controlling it, and now I don't have to, again, control the entire thing at once. I can do this part and then work my way down. Nope. Okay. Sometimes I have to grip the wheel with your thighs, like riding a horse. Oh, let's try it again. When I did my last demo, I was afraid to center the big piece on the wheel, so I cheated and I centered it first with nobody watching. So let's see if we can get this back. Okay. Oh, let off slowly. Okay, ideally, there we go. Okay, let's go. Okay, I'm going to make kind of like the shape I just did, but a little bit lower, I think, because I want it, I'm gonna try and make it a square. Wheel has to be full speed. This. Okay. Now this bowl I'm thinking will be a little wide. Water dragging over there. And so I'll have to compress the center. Let's check. Let's check. It's a big pot, so I'm gonna let it be a little bit bigger. One of the things that when you have a big bowl, you don't want to go straight wide and then have your walls come up. You want it to have a natural curve. That's was something that I had forgotten. When I first started back in 2017, I thought, oh yeah. And then I went, wait a minute. No, that's right. So thanks again, Mom. Okay, here goes. I got to open it some more. Full speed for opening. And as I'm opening, I'm pulling up a little bit to help me with my inside natural curve. If I pull it straight, then I'm gonna have more of a square inside. Okay, I'm going back in, pushing this clay back into the center. Okay. All righty. Again, I'm pushing it. I'm not opening it wide yet. Control my edge. Okay. lot of crap. Oops, sorry. Okay. Now, let's go out. Let's see, how tall are we? Regular ruler says it's 6. Okay, that's all right. And it's 6 by 7. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. All righty. I don't want to lose too much of the height. So I'm trying to keep it. Oh, I love throwing. Okay, let's do it again. A little bit of water inside so my finger doesn't drag. Okay, I want to feel it this time. I like to keep my hands together so that I have a little bit of support, even though they're not really supporting each other. They're just working together. Okay, one of the things I didn't show you is a piece of chamois, not synthetic. I don't know. It's the thick chamois because I got a woolly piece of chamois. It doesn't work for beans. Nicely wet. Thank you, Mom, for writing my name on everything. Here we go. What it does is it's smoothing my edge. A little bit of. Okay, let's look at the shape. I'm thinking if I'm going square, it doesn't need to be too round. Because I'm going to do something fun. Let me feel it again. Now you can see why porcelain can be tricky, because if you're throwing really thin with a lot of water, it's just, well, I've got some down here. So we're going to try one more pull. Sometimes I can get a ridge up there and I don't want that. Okay, let's clean it out. Clean those. Those are, some of those ridge marks are just slip, a little bit of watery paste stuff. It doesn't need to be on. It's just going to make it a lot long, take it a lot longer for it to dry. Okay, let's do the swirl. Okay, you guys can't see that. Let's try this. Can you see? Can you see it? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can. Thank you. Okay, now, okay, we're going to try to make this a square. So I don't want my fingers to stick. I'm going to go 2 fingers on the outside, 1 finger on the inside, and pull it like this. So let's do it.
You sure you want to mess up a perfect bowl?
Too late, honey. I have more clay.
You can always smush it and start over.
True. But what's the This is fun. It's different. Oh, okay. We did it. Okay, so clean up.
Clean up on aisle 7.
Excellent. And hold on, before I cut it off, okay, I'm gonna clean up a little bit at the base so that I don't have to spend as much time trimming. Generally, when you make your feet, when you're trimming the foot in the bottom of a piece, you look for the opening on the inside of the piece. You want it to be there. You don't want it to be way inside, because if the beginning of the curve is out here and your foot's here, it's not going to have good stability. You also don't want it to be outside, because then it's too clunky. One of the things I also like to do when trimming feet is to have it have, you want it when you're washing the dishes and things. Oh yeah, good. You want it so that you can hold it with your fingers on the foot. You want it to be a generous enough foot that you can do that. I'm messing with this because this is the bone. Hasn't been bisque. This is the bone dry one, very fragile. Here, I'll show you on this one. Okay, now let me show you this. I'm going to lift it up before I peel it off so that I can hold it up and show you, so I don't have to turn the camera again. Yeah, this is a fun shape. Now, there's some finger marks, but I can sand those out with my scrubby once it's all the way dry. Here we go. There we go. Can you see? Cut it off. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. It's wonderful. I love clay. I'll post that other glazing video next week on my Handmade by Sloane Instagram. And if anybody wants to come and try, I've got another thing right there, and it's open air and I'm vaccinated.